Alrighty, here is the thing, fam. Normally I like to read the room before I spew out my nonsense. Normally I like to speak to the vibe before I go in on any topic so I can see the nuance and empathize with the subject. But we're not going to do that today because the book has destroyed me. Honestly, when I picked up this novel for the book club this month, I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I thought I was going to be able to tamp down my emotions. I guess not. I understand that I've done this to myself, but I also understand that I'm now annoyed and I'm going to make it everyone else's problem. So without further ado, this book fucking sucks. I'm getting really frustrated because it feels like every single young adult novel that's recommended to me has the same emotional through line. A gay kid falls in love with a handsome ally. They learn to believe in themselves, and after coming out to a bunch of people who already know they're gay and are perfectly supportive, all their problems are solved by learning they were actually very popular. And they learn in the end that the best thing to do is always be yourself. I'm sorry, are y'all not bored? I think often in the conversation of queer media, there's a distinction that's missed, which is the difference between diversity and representation. These books have representation. The boys kiss, they're being gay, we love gay, but they offer very little diversity. They lack diversity on a surface level because they're all from a very whitewashed perspective, and also they lack diversity in thought. These books have different plots, but they all carry the same conclusion, which is stay true to who you are and your enemies will defeat themselves unless you get hit by a car or whatever. But I feel like a crazy person sometimes because I'm witnessing the same thing over and over. Meanwhile, people are celebrating the latest release like it's some gay victory. And at this point, I don't think it is. In the same way Disney hasn't really moved past its late 90s idea of feminism.
I mean, you don't seem to know how dangerous Agrabah can be.
I'm a fast learner.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
It's not a hot take to say the current interpretations of Alice in Wonderland, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Snow White are a lazy approach to feminism. So why is it such a hot take to say that Love, Simon, or Call Me By Your Name, or Red, White, and Royal Blue are a lazy approach to gay storytelling? I feel like a lot of gay media is stuck in this idea that as long as it's two boys kissing, it's progressive. Madeline Miller is writing circles around these boys. Meanwhile, I'm reading really good books about rejecting tradition in service of the things you love, or attempting to figure out who you are while also trying to fit into the idea of what everyone expects you to be. And I'm not going to sit here and try to do the gay math of what could possibly win the progressive Olympics, because I know it's not a competition. But what I am going to say is that this, to me, is boring and predictable. Queer trauma, to me, is about the people you love choosing safety, choosing normalcy over you. I think that is such a fascinating way to approach internal struggle. But there's none of that in here. This book's problems are solved when a gay triple agent leaks to the press that the Republican Party did a homophobia. Ugh. And I'm not asking people to stop enjoying the fantasy. I'm not trying to rip these books off the shelves because they don't offer the storyline that I want. But are these on the Amazon storefront? Are these being turned into TV shows? No, they're not. And to me, that's annoying. I feel like generally the pushback that I get from saying all this can be summed up in one tweet. Okay, but gay people deserve trashy romance novels. Yeah, it's terrible. The premise is absurd. The writing is terrible. The point of view is clearly from a woman. But if people enjoy it, why does that make you mad? If it gives a little gay boy in Ohio joy, it's worth something. All right. So, this is gonna be a crazy thought. I need you to hold on to your socks because I'm about to knock them off. I actually think that that gay boy in Ohio deserves good things. I can't stress enough. I don't want these books to not exist. I want them to be different from each other. I feel like every time I bring up this subject, I'm met with the same criticism of, you don't appreciate it. And you know what? That might be true. I can't imagine a world that exists without this progressive media. But at the same time, I don't care. That's not the world I live in. I live, unfortunately, in this hellscape. I'm gonna be honest, I have such a hard time taking those words seriously because there are books from the 60s that I've read with more interesting topics, more nuance, more queer subjects than most of the books written today. And is it fair that I compare City of Night to Red, White, and Royal Blue? Nope, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Because it's about quality. Like I said in my last video, I don't want RuPaul to go away. I want them to stop producing projects that are so out of touch that large studios now feel reluctant to work with any queer projects. Rory Gilmore wearing a suit in that one episode of Gilmore Girls is more queer than this book. That episode of Seinfeld where George and Jerry are mistaken to be a gay couple is more queer than this book. Megan is gayer than this book, and that movie was made gay completely on accident. The writer even admitted to not doing it on purpose, but since that bitch has nice hair and kills people to walk the night, we get to claim her as our own. I would like authors who are clearly very talented and know what they're doing to make bolder strides, because I think that's what queer kids deserve. In another video, I talked about how Kit Connor was bullied by Twitter and forced to come out of the closet because of a role he played in Heartstopper, and of course that's wrong, but I totally understand where people are coming from. That when one project comes out, it feels like it needs to be perfect. It is getting better, but I think a lot of people are still frustrated with the idea that there's not that many interesting depictions of gay people out there. So when people find something of value, they defend it a little too much. And I'm not excusing the abusive tendencies of people who can't emotionally control themselves on the internet, but I do genuinely think there would be a little less hostility online if books like these weren't so milquetoast. You know what? Actually, I just finished this book today. Let me read you the very end. In the last few pages of Bad Mormon, Heather Gay talks about her experience on Housewives and people's response to her. In an instant, my life went from fearing I was losing everything to thousands of people telling me I was everything. After so many years frozen in regret and despair, I now know that I am not alone. A community of beautiful outsiders like me who are imperfect in every single way. And this is how Red, White, and Royal Blue ends. She thunks it down on the table so Queen Mary and Philip can see it. The rest of them stand and look too. It's a news report from the BBC. The sound is off, but Alex reads the scroll at the bottom of the screen. Worldwide support pours in for Prince Henry and first son of U.S. Girl, if your coming-of-age queer story has the same emotional through line as a housewife memoir, it is time to go back to the drawing board. I think that writers can fall into a trap of, one, replicating heteronormative tendencies because that's what sells. And two, I think a lot of them are afraid of depicting a gay person that is anything but mildly flawed. I may lose some of you here, but it actually reminds me a lot of Sex and the City. In the show, and specifically in the first few seasons, you're watching Carrie Bradshaw chain smoke cigarettes, prioritize herself over everyone else, and get herself into crippling amounts of credit card debt. And you're waiting for this moment where the show is going to acknowledge that she's the villain. Right? At the very least, you're waiting for someone to admit that their relationship with money is exceedingly harmful, that the life that they imagine to want is hurting them. But that moment never comes because the show is more focused on grandeur. Instead of a show that could have truly represented something, it feels instead like an adorable, distant fantasy. And again, I cannot emphasize enough, there is nothing wrong with just having a fantasy. But the problem is I don't really see them as good characters. I see them as well-written influencers. The thing is, I really like gay shit. And I personally would like to get to a point where suburban moms are reading about the queer experience that I think they would love to read about. And this just isn't going to get us there. Listen, I understand that I am not the primary appeal for this book, and I never will be. But also, I have read and enjoyed many a gay shit to hopefully prove the point that I'm not just being a gross curmudgeon, and I also know it's not that serious, but also I wish it was. Yeah, so, I mean, all that being said, if you're looking for a recommendation, I'd skip this one.